Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about something I learned a while back from a guy named Mac Hannon. Mac Hannon wrote the book, Consultative Selling, still a classic, still worth reading. I think it's almost like 40 years later. I think it was written in 1971, I believe. And a lot of the stuff you hear today is still based on that book. Great book. But in that book, he talked about what is it that customers want to hear? What is it that a customer wants to hear? But also, I thought about this today, that also investors want to hear. So if you have somebody you want somebody to invest in your company, what do they want to hear? I often talk about the value Trinity: increase revenue, reduce costs, expand market share, right? Well, this is a new Trinity. This is the second Trinity, and it is attributed to Mac Hannon. People want to know. Buyers want to know. I'm talking B2B enterprise level buyers, and maybe company or investors want to know these three things if they're going to give you their money. Number one, how much? How much is this going to cost me? If you're investing, how much is the investment and what equity do I get for that investment, right? They want to know, one, how much? Two, they want to know how fast or how soon. How soon will I get my investment back? That's called return of capital, almost like a break-even point, return of capital. In other words, when will I get my money back? How fast will I get it back? How soon will I get it back? Number three, how often will I see a return on that investment? If I'm buying a product, how often will I see gains based on buying that product? That is called a return on capital. In other words, what's my profit? Return of capital is, when do I get my money back? Return on capital, what is the profit? How often will I see a profit? Now, let's dig into it just a little bit, because I think this is worth analyzing. Because again, a customer, when they buy something from you, and again, I'm talking B2B enterprise level type of buying. When they buy something from you, that is an investment. So much like when a company invests in a product or, a startup, that's an investment. And they want to know, well, how much is it going to cost me? How much is it going to cost me? And so let's talk about how much. What does that mean, how much? Too often, we as salespeople, as presenters, focus on, when we hear the phrase, how much, we just think money. And that's important. How much money do I have to invest? But as I've said in my past podcasts, we also have to think about time and effort. If I'm going to invest, let's say again, enterprise level solution, I'm going to invest money in this system, that I know what the money is. How much time and effort is also going to be required for me to implement this solution. So again, when we talk about how much, it's not just money, it's also how much time and how much effort will be required to make that change. So I think it's important to look beyond money and add the time component and the effort of change component as well. Now, let's look at how soon. How soon will I get my money back? If we can quantify for the customer, look, Mr. Customer, if you invest this amount of money, you're going to see your money back within this number of months or this number of weeks, whatever it may be. But let's say it's this number of months, right? But again, that's only return on investment when it comes to the amount of money invested. You can also quantify the effort and the time. That's a little more difficult. But nonetheless, what customers want, after knowing how much, is that when will I get my money back? Because they have to justify it to their boss. Recently, I was listening to, I think it's Brett Adamson, wrote the book, was co-author of the book, The Challenger Sale, and he was talking about how the number of people making a buying decision continues to increase. And again, depending on who you want to believe, the number somewhere between 6 and 10 people now have to sign off on a buying decision. So one of the things your champion, the person you're selling to, has to turn around then and sell upwards, that person, you need to condition them, if not teach them, how to quantify the value. And one of the things that you need to demonstrate to them so they can sell it up, so to speak, is how fast, in other words, how soon will they get their money back, the break-even point. Now, the final step, the best part, is if they know how much it's going to cost them, they know what the break-even point is, they want to know, well, down the road, how often will I see a return on my investment, and what does that look like? Let me give you an example because I really want you to have this concrete example in your head. Let's say that you're trying to sell an enterprise software solution to a company. Now, the cost of the product, maintenance agreements, upgrades in the future, everything wrapped up is $100,000, right? For simplicity's sake, it's a simple $100,000. Now, let's also say, hypothetically, that the time required to invest it and the people required to do the changeover, implement the actual software, if we quantify the time and effort, let's add another $30,000 on top of that. So now the total investment, money, time, and effort is $130,000. $130,000. That's what we can tell the customer. Now, we can also say, Mr. Customer, when you implement this software, you'll do a study and you'll say you'll be able to save $10,000 per month. $10,000 per month. Now, you can run a quick break-even analysis on that one. If it's $130,000 investment, and you're saving $10,000 every month, in 13 months, basically, you take 130 divided by 10,000, 130,000 divided by 10,000, and you got 13 months. What does that mean? That's basically a year and 1 month, right? A year and 1 month. So that is their break-even point. Now, how often will they see a profit? Now, because they're going to see $10,000 a month savings, let's say that they're going to use this software for 3 years. And let's say that the first year, the 1 year and 1 month is basically break even. So for 2 more years, they're going to see $10,000 a month. So $10,000 a month times 12, that's $120,000 times 2, that's $240,000. Said another way, they'll hit their break even point after 1 year, more or less 13 months. But if they're going to use this product for 3 years, for the next 2 years, they're going to see $10,000 a month profit. So 24 months, 2 years, times 10, that's $240,000. Now, this is the type of presentation people want to hear. This is the type of presentation that you as a salesperson could really begin to deliver and quantify. When you have this type of data, when you have this type of analysis, and I know I'm giving you broad strokes here, but when you have this type of analysis, it makes it easier to get buy-in, to get consensus from multiple buying groups. Because again, when people see the economic advantage, they see the operational advantage, and maybe even the market advantage of owning this product, they're more likely to say yes than no. So in the end, if you can tell them how much, how fast, and how often they're going to see a return on investment, you're more likely to close that deal than not. And that is it for this Sales Influence podcast. Don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. You know what I mean. Let me know what you think. Also, check out my online sales training platform, the Sales Velocity Academy. 40 courses, 400 videos, 1 or 2 added every month. This library is growing, but the price is not. Check it out at salesvelocityacademy.com. That's salesvelocityacademy.com. If you're serious about increasing your sales velocity, this is the place to go. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.